04 Object-Oriented Programming, and this course, as you know, there are 3 sections, but as we have planned not to repeat the same lectures, so there are 3 faculties assigned. Myself, Subrata Nandi, Abhijit Sharma, and there will be Deepanwita. So 3 of us will basically share the topics, and that will be addressed to the whole batch, like all the 3 sections. That what we have planned. And in many cases, if you have doubts and clarifications, just a minute, I have to plug in the power source. Okay. So in case you have clarifications, we'll try to arrange some tutorials in addition to the actual theory classes. This is the first point. Second is, as we were just checking, maybe you will not get more than say 12 weeks time. 12 week means 2 classes, so at most 24 lecture hours. I think it will be reduced to like 22 lecture hours. So that becomes difficult because each class consists of just only 40 minutes. So in general, irrespective of the batch, I think you have to arrange one extra class at least, and that I can communicate with the CR maybe in the first half in some of the weekdays. Okay, so that we'll be able to cover the topics in a convenient way. This is the second point. Third is regarding the assignments. We'll give assignments, although there is no official sessional this time, but because it's a language course and it should have some kind of practice, and when we take the class, I take the class, I'll try to show the codes using some editors and all, compile it, and we'll also post some assignments which you try to solve, and if you face any problems, you just we can discuss in some other classes. So that is one way. It's a kind of tutorial, doubt clearance, whatever you say. So these are the points, and regarding the evaluation, whatever it is, it will be instructed from the academic section. We have to follow that. Probably it will be similar to that of the last semester. There will be class test, there will be mid-sem, and followed by end-sem. But again, the actual guidelines and the instructions will come, and we'll follow that. Okay, regarding the notes, in my part, as you know, there will be 3 faculties who will be sharing the topics. So in my case, as I posted, I think all of you got the few page of the scanned pages. Have you got it in the mail? Have you received it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just keep posting on that before the prior to the class. So you can just have a glance, look into it to have some idea of what things will be discussed in the class. In case I can manage to prepare the slides prior, I'll post the slides also, so that at least in my class you can have it a bit more interactive session. You can clear your doubts so that we can be much focused on doubts and all. But before I start, so how many of you have used object-oriented language, any object-oriented language? Just raise your voice, because I cannot see any of you.
Yes.
I have just switched into full screen.
Yes, sir.
So we have like we had Java during our class 10th and 12th, so a
Yeah.
couple of us
Mm.
And
in
C++ as
ICSE,
well, sir.
and
Mm.
also C++ for the CBSE people.
Okay, so few are familiar with Java, few of the students are familiar with C++, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But all of you are
Sir,
definitely, you have done C in your first or second semester.
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Hmm. So the point is, this course never assumes any prerequisite knowledge on C++. So that's a nice thing. So those who are not aware of any object-oriented features or object-oriented languages, I think they should not worry about, and the approach will be without assumption of any prior knowledge to object-oriented concepts or languages. But definitely, if you have got some ideas prior, it will help you to post questions or uh, clear your doubts if you have anything like that. So that way it helps, but I feel that it also helps that if you know something not in a proper way, it is better to start it in a proper way. So the both has got advantages and disadvantages, so let not worry about that. So when I ask questions, because it's a very typical mode, I cannot see the faces, and if I switch on my face, probably it will take some more bandwidth. But if you wish to, I can do that. But when I ask questions, try to have some answer, so that I have the feeling that okay, things you are getting things, and in case you have got any doubts, you can always raise questions, raise your voice, so that I can stop and I can give a pause and I can try to answer it. Okay.
Sir, one question, sir. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Actually, I wanna know that, sir. If I know Java, then if I have
Yes.
to learn C++ for the same stuff.
See again. Okay. So the main point that I skipped. So this is a course in object-oriented programming, right? So the course name doesn't specify the language that we'll be using, because it's a programming course. So some language need to be there to implement the features, because object-oriented programming, it's a kind of, there are a whole lot of features that comes up, but this course will stick to C++. So we'll use the C++ as a mode of teaching. So definitely, if you have got the knowledge of Java, so you have to learn C++. So I think that helps you to know one more language. Uh, uh, that's it. So you cannot write codes in Java, because the mode of delivery will be using C++. But your knowledge of object-oriented features and concepts will definitely help you to position it. In fact, there are some say differences the way things are handled in Java and in C++. So it may not be just a trivial switch. So sometimes you have to be aware of it. But anyway, if you know Java, knowing C++, it will add one more language to your skill set. Okay. So this will be the outline of this introductory course, and I have posted the syllabus of this particular course in the MS Team. Hopefully you have received it. So you can go through the syllabus content of it. And as I mentioned, these object-oriented features. So before we start with the features and why it is required, and then we switch to the syntax of the language. So much before that, let us see that so what kind of programming. So object-oriented programming is a kind of design philosophy, right? So the design entirely changes when you think of object-orientedness and all this. So what you know, I mean, those who know C, I mean, everybody knows C. So what kind of approach or design the C language takes? What is the name for that?
Procedural.
Procedural, sir.
Procedure oriented language. Okay, so this is procedure oriented programming or procedure oriented paradigm. So we already know this. So let us, before I start object oriented programming, let us see what are the limitations or drawbacks which forces us, or at least motivates us, to switch to some other kind of approach, and what are the advantages of switching to that, what are the features. So accordingly, I'll be first focusing on the features and limitations. It will be just browsing through the design approach of procedure oriented programming, not just going to the C syntax. So language syntax is something different. So we are talking about the design philosophy, and then we'll see that the real world perception. So when you are given with a real world problem as a programmer, how you perceive the I mean the whole problem. I mean how you approach, what comes in your mind and all this. And then we see that how the object oriented paradigm that will be sticking to this throughout this course will help us in capturing or modeling those whatever we perceive. Okay. So we'll come across the features, the terminologies, and above all the advantages of this paradigm over the procedure oriented paradigm, right? So once we do this, we will be in a position to set free from that procedure oriented paradigm, because we'll encounter, I mean, we'll come across with a number of advantages, and hopefully we'll be convinced those who have not heard about like object oriented design. So you easily can be convinced that okay, these are the so many advantages, so you should try to get into this design and implement it using some language. So as I mentioned, C++ will be the mode of delivery when we write the codes and focus on the syntax. And this has been chosen because C++ has got a lot of similarity with C syntactically. But again, there are other reasons also. C++ is much faster than Java. Maybe many of you know, because that was it's a runtime environment, so, and it is platform independent, all these things are there. And C++ is or C also is much faster in execution. So those are the reasons, but there are many other reasons also why C++ is still a popular language over others. Okay, and I don't think this will be possible writing the very first code in C++. So let's start the procedure oriented paradigm, and let us start with a very simple example, that the problem is of result processing to create a rank list and finding the attendance of defaulters. Okay, so what we have here is result processing of to create a rank list. So let us assume that I have got a course like CSC 404 and I have got this rank list. So first of all, I have to store the result. So the result will be stored in a, so corresponding to each student we have to store the result. So this is the student ith student's result. Marks, so these are the marks, so marks one dimensional array. And for the attendance, I have considered, say there are 1 to n number of students, or 1 to say 180 students, and corresponding to each student I have recorded the attendance in each of my lectures, right? So how many lectures are there? It is lecture 1, lecture 2, like this, and there are, say for example, there are 20 lectures, and corresponding to each student I have recorded whether he has attended or not, like this. So this is basically a binary matrix which records who is present, who is absent, like this. Okay, so this is maybe attendance 2D array, and this is marks, it's a 1D array. So so this we know that this need to be stored, we have to record the values and then we have to process something. So if I ask you to solve it, so procedure oriented, so in C, what is the first approach, what you think of first? There will be a main procedure, a main function, right? And then what next? So within the main, how many, so procedure oriented means you will be trying to first identify how many procedures should I write, or how many procedures the whole problem should be splitted to, right? So what do you think will be the procedures that you should design for this problem? So main is a procedure which is always there, but within the main, how many procedures, but apart from main, how many procedures should be there? Hello?
So number of procedures would be like first
A
day would be the
bit louder
procedure
so
for
that
this.
I can, so others also can hear. A bit louder,
So
just so
first,
that.
so the first procedure would be creating the 1D array, and also and after that creating the 2D
Okay,
array with that.
let us assume that we have used static arrays, right? So let us ignore that complexity. Okay, static array, it is all coming up with the space and all. So next, what came with the other one? So read marks. Okay, so once you, even if I assume that the array is done, so read marks is one particular function, right? What is that apart from it?
So
Sort marks.
Sort marks or compare marks?
Yes, so first thing is read marks, and then if you have to go for a rank, you have to basically go for say maybe create rank. So create rank is another function, right? Because you have to just create the rank. Now this create rank will actually, how to create the rank? You have to basically perform some sorting, right? Now whatever sorting you do, that's not the case, but these are the kind of methods that you should split into the whole thing. Now apart from this, what else you need to do? This is a rank, creating the rank. Whatever else you have to do?
So display.
Yeah, display is there, but you have to display the rank list, and maybe the condition is if you are a defaulter who has not attended 70% above classes, your rank will not be displayed, so your result will be, will not be published, something like that. So this is read attendance, right? And then read attendance, what it will do, it will find defaulter, and then there may be another particular function which is display rank, right? Okay, these are not hard and fast like divisions, but maybe that is how I have thought of creating procedures, as many as I wish. I mean, you can have few more, somebody can have few less, like this, right? And this display rank will be using the outcome of this and outcome of these functions, okay, or create rank like this. Now if we stick to 1 2 3 4 5 6 and total 7 procedures, so this is how the approach is. Now what about this marks? In which procedures this marks array will be used? In which procedures a marks array will be used?
So read marks, create rank, sort.
And where this will be used? Here and here, right? And maybe that after this it will have some kind of maybe this uses both of these two, this and this, okay? So that way it works. Now the point is, what are the problems that you face in such a design? Can you guess what are the problems that we face here? See, the first design problem is, okay, this much is fine. Now the problem is this 1D array, this 1D array is accessible to these three methods, right? Or these three functions or these three subroutines, whatever you say. And this 2D array, probably you assume that this is to be required by these two methods or functions. So the thing is, now you say if they belong to this, so where to place it? Can you place the whole one-dimensional array within the function, this read mat? Is it possible to declare this whole 1D array here? Can you do this? If you do this, then what happens?
It becomes local to that function.
Yes, if it becomes local, then what happens? So when this create rank wants to use it, then this read mat need to pass that array, right? It must return that array, and then create rank uses. So the thing is, so this create rank is dependent on something that read marks should pass and all this. So what do we call this technically? This is called coupling. So these two functions are coupled with each other. I mean, tightly coupled with each other, right? And then sort also need to be. So you have to pass this create rank should pass that array to the sort and all this. But instead of that, if you place it outside all these methods or procedures, then what happens? This becomes global, and if it becomes global, then what is the problem? If this becomes global, then
So once modified it,
so then there are other kind of problems.
If it's
So
global, then
there come side effects and all. So the thing is, so what should be the, so what do we prefer? But the thing is, and the dangerous thing is, this becomes visible to these two also. So these two methods also, if it wants, it can modify. So unnecessarily, when you place it global, this becomes accessible to all the methods. If you want to make it local, then you have to probably pass that unit of data structure each time you call a function, and it becomes, and this may not be as simple as this. Sometimes a function may need to uh, accept say 50-60 arguments. Okay, then this becomes very difficult to read and all this. So this is the problem. So what is the, so the thing is, the data that you are using, there is less control on the data. Either you make it local or you make it global, but there is no way of mentioning that, okay, you make it local, but these portions you can let others also to know. So those fine grained control over data is missing here. So the features are, first of all, it is a top down approach. So you start with main, and then you you decide that okay, I'll do everything in say rank processing function. And rank processing, if it is too big, you find it's too difficult to write, you split it into read marks and create rank, and you find that create rank also does some algorithm. So gradually you design, starting from the top, you keep on splitting the methods or procedures into sub procedures and all, and you end up with a collection of procedures which you need to encode, right? So the task is to identify procedures, and when we call procedures, it can be, so the similar terms are subroutines, modules, or functions. Now what should be the properties of a procedure? I mean, the design aspects, what should I focus on to when I create procedures? Now this, in this particular problem, I have created how many say procedures apart from main? 6. So is this enough? So you may say that okay, I'll split it into further more. I have ended up with 15 procedures for this, and somebody says that I just end up with 2 procedures, that's all. So what will be the best choice of number of procedures? What is the design philosophy that guides us?
So minimum
A
number of
procedure should
procedures,
be
sir.
a procedure should be highly cohesive. So cohesive means within the procedure, the instructions that you include should be highly relevant. Okay, and this relevance, what is relevant, what is not relevant, is up to you by the it goes to the designer's skill. And another is low coupling. So this is one thing, and coupling means you should not do it in such a way that one procedure is very much dependent on the other procedure. So in other words, you can think of the number of parameters that you pass when you are calling a procedure should be as minimum as possible. Now these are something very conflicting, because if you want to make things very cohesive, then maybe that you are including too many things, and when you are calling somebody else, you have to pass on also too many things. Are you getting my point? Hello?
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the thing is, this cohesion and coupling, high cohesion, low coupling, this, if you think for a while, you find that these are contradictory goals kind of, and that's why there comes a skill of a programmer. And by writing too many programs, you find that probably there is no point of dividing it any further, or even this may be too big to debug and handle, so I should divide it. So you get a some kind of idea about this. Now this is the last point. So once you have performed this design, so what we have done this here is just a design, right? I know I have to write 6 procedures. Now when you write the details of the procedures, you should follow us, you should write a structured code. So you have any idea what structured code means? What do you mean by structured code?
So like there's a flow into the program, sir. Like it's a linear flow of the entire program.
See, linear, it's not like linear flow. When you have some code, so this is this way it goes, and then there is a loop, it comes back, and again it flows, it goes and comes back like this. So it's not purely linear, or I mean it's not like sequential flow, but because you can always jump back and again continue some steps repeatedly, so these are possible, and this is always done. So in this case, you see there is a for loop here. So what kind of structure this is? One loop is nested within the other, right? It's a nested loop. Now let us assume that you have got a level, say L1, and you are writing something here, and then you write if this condition happens, then go to L1. Okay, so can we create a loop out of it if your language supports go to and level? Is that possible? So does it end up with a, আমি একটু ক্লাসে আছি, একটু কথা কম বললে ভালো হয়, আমি ক্লাসে আছি। So if I write this piece of code, so can we think of a repetitive block like this? If this is the case, you go back. So this like this. Now if I allow such things to happen, so I can write something like this also. There is L2 here, and here I write if this happens, then go to L2. Then can you find out the structure for this? So this is a repetitive block like this. And what is the other repetitive block? Where is the other repetitive block? Other repetitive block is like this. So that means two repetitive blocks can be nested on within each other. Okay, there can be multiple level of nesting, but what this means, is it nesting? This one, is it nesting?
No, sir, not exactly.
No, sir.
It's
It is not
overlap.
nesting, it is overlapping. It is overlapping, and such overlapping blocks, I mean, which repeats, like this is a repetitive block and this is a repetitive block, and you have got some overlap, partial overlap, uh, so it's instead of nesting, so this is forbidden. So this is forbidden. So if this occurs, then there is all kind of problems of debugging and all, so this is not allowed, and this is what is called as unstructured programming. So in fact in many languages, such provisions of unstructured unstructured code is not provided, like go to level and all this. These are probably became obsolete these days, but there are languages where you have this provision, and it's up to you whether you use it or not. So from the software engineering perspective, a code should not have any unstructured portion, like, so it should be encoded using a structured code. So these are some trivial features which you already know. So what is the inherent limitation of such design? What is the limitation of this procedure-oriented design? As you can see here, the inherent cohesion of data and procedures. What is the cohesion here? If there is some provision, so I would be tempted to probably put together this marks array with these three functions, right? Because this marks array with these three functions, they are somewhat related. Do you feel the cohesion between these two? So these three always work on this particular array, so they are having some inherent cohesion, right? Is that fine?
So
So there is a tendency
Yes.
that they should be working on each other, and there is this blue one, you see, so they are having some inherent tendency. So this is a cohesive, so this inherent cohesion between this and this cannot be exploited in a pure procedure oriented language. So in C, because C is a procedure oriented language, we all know, so in C, is there any way you can write a structure? So structure can combine multiple data or data structures, right? INTX, float, F. So in the similar way, if I want, so I write int marks. So int marks is fine, but if I want to include here the procedures also which operate on that is read marks, create rank, and then sort. So within this block, if I would like to include this array along with the methods, is that possible in C? Because everybody has studied C, right? But in C, you can include multiple data types in a structure. But can you include the related methods also within the structure?
no,
No,
sir.
sir.
So this is not possible. I mean, if it is a pure C compiler, these days it is hard to find a pure C compiler, because we often use the C++ compilers. We use it to compile C codes, because C++ is, compatible with the syntax of C. Probably this will work, but in a true ANSI C compiler, this will not be allowed at all. Okay, so if this is not allowed, that means what the problem is, the inherent cohesion between data and procedures cannot be captured in the design, because you cannot write, because the language does not support it, right? And that was not supported by the design approach itself also. So the designer says, the compiler designer says that the design does not support, so I have also not included that support. So what about the other one, the not total reuse? So when you are trying to reuse in C, so what we can reuse in a C code? What are the units which you can reuse in your C code when you write some other problem? So which portions you can reuse if you want?
Functions.
you can reuse the functions or procedures, right? So if you have written already a sort, a bubble sort function somewhere else, you can use a header file which includes a bubble sort and you can reuse it. Okay. So we can reuse only the methods or functions, but we cannot reuse probably uh, the data structures, the matrices and all this. So a total reuse is not possible, and we'll see when writing C++ codes if and how it is possible. So another point that we already faced the problem is either we can go for uh, global declaration or local declaration, but there is no choice in between. So if you place something within the function, so you cannot let it be used by others outside. Okay, this is the problem. So the last one is complete focus on modules, no emphasis on data. So what it says, we are always focusing on the procedures, but we don't give too much of emphasis on the data during our design. Okay, let's see now how, as I mentioned, so we found that procedure oriented programming, what it was. I mean, we have already done that earlier. So we found the features, we have identified the features in a broad way, and we have found out the limitations of that, and these limitations will be felt more once you know the features of object oriented design, and you'll be able to appreciate that why we should switch from that procedure oriented domain to object oriented domain. So this is one example. So if as a programmer, if I ask you that what you see here in this figure, what are the entities that you see in this figure? How many, or I mean, how many entities? Just give me a count, rough count. How many entities are uh, can you perceive in this figure?
So you want the total count?
Sir, around 15.
Around 50. How
20,
many?
sir.
15,
15.
15,
Five,
15, 15.
five entities are there, most
So
probably.
can you see that there are, I mean, it's not that everybody says the same answer, because the perception differs, right? Somebody says 5, somebody says 15, somebody says maybe 20, something around that. So it depends how you perceive it. Now the point is, if I say that, okay, to me, because I know the problem that I'm going to solve, so probably I know that these are the entities which I have leveled, like, so there are, how many vehicles are there? How many total vehicles are there? So to me, vehicles are important.
So 6 vehicles.
6 vehicles are there. Then how many persons are there?
5.
No, there are 6.
6,
1, 2,
6, 6,
3,
6, 6, 6,
4,
6.
5, 6. Okay, they are hiding somewhere else. Okay, so there are 6 vehicles, there are 6 persons, and how many say smartphones are there? So these are the phones. I mean, not smartphones, these are the phones. How many phones are there? So these are the phones, and these are also, so everybody is carrying a phone, right? So let us assume that everybody is carrying a phone.
So then
So
6
phones,
phones.
how many phones? Each person is carrying, say, one
6.
phone each. So there are 6 phones. And how many trees are there? So there are, say, for example, 5 trees. And there are buildings. How many buildings are there? There are 2 buildings. Now the point is, maybe I am not interested with trees and buildings in my problem. I don't have to model them. I don't have to store any information about them. So to me, what is interesting is the vehicles, the persons, and the phones that is there. Now, what I identify, you see that, so the thing is the vehicles, persons. Now all the vehicles, once I ask how many vehicles, you have considered this and this as vehicles, because you know that they are basically, they take us from one place to other. Okay, so even though there is a visible distinction between these two, but still you say that these are vehicles, even though this person and this person are not looking the same probably, but still you say that these are persons. So the point is, if I try to define the say the characteristics of vehicles or persons or phones, what should I do? So in terms of phone, I can say that to me, so how you define the phone? How you define the phone? So each phone should have a phone number. I mean, probably there will be a SIM. So each phone should have a phone number, and each phone should have a receiver and the transmitter at least, because these days phones are having anything and everything, but a lot of sensors and other components. But the phone should have at least a receiver, a transmitter, and a phone number, right? And a vehicle should have a vehicle number and few wheels, because without wheels you cannot move, the vehicles cannot move. So these are the bare minimum that we expect, at least in my design I would think of. Now this is what a phone is having, what a vehicle is having. So this is what it consists of and what it is capable of doing. So what a phone is capable of doing: you can make a phone call, you can receive a call, and you can record a call probably. And a vehicle, you can drive a vehicle, you can park a vehicle. So these are the capabilities and these are the characteristics, right? So when I define these characteristics, this set for a particular phone, that means if I get back to the previous one, so this is phone S1, this is phone S2, this is phone S3, S4, S5. So each of the phone, what I'm trying to come up with, it's a definition of the, it is a definition of each and every phone. So irrespective of the phone, because, and why you have tried to put this definition, because you know that there are a lot of similarities among the phones, because all phones and vehicles also, without any information, you immediately clubbed all those 6 vehicles, and that includes both the 2-wheeler and 4-wheeler. Might be there are difference between in the number of wheels, like this. Okay, so what I mean to say is each entity that you have physically identified, they are you can come up with their characteristics. Characteristics means it can be color, it can be number, it can be size, whatever, and also its capabilities. So this is the 2 important things. One is its characteristics and its capabilities. And once you have done that, you can find out, because there are multiple entities, so all the similar kind of entities, how you say they are similar? Because if the entities, they behave similarly, their capabilities are similar, you say they are similar. Why you have considered all those 6 as vehicles? Because they can all move and they can all be parked like this. So based on that, you have grouped them together. So based on the capabilities, if the items have the same or similar capabilities, you group them, and this group of items having the similar capabilities is called a class. Okay, so class is a kind of, it's a, all the items having similar capabilities are grouped into a category called a class, right? So within a class, that means it will have so in a class definition, you can think of defining the characteristics and the capabilities. Okay, so when it comes to the person, what do you think? How you define the characteristics of a person? A person will have its ID, maybe Aadhaar card or something like that, or employee ID, student ID, whatever. And maybe in an academic institute, he will be affiliated to a particular department, he or she. And then what else a person will have? He probably owns a vehicle, at least a bike or bicycle, or a 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler, whatever. And then he hopefully will have at least one phone. Okay, and what else we have considered? This is a account number, because there is a bank associated, and in this bank, so the point is, it may not be that everything you can see. So in all the items that you perceive must be visible physically, because a bank account is not seen, but you know that, okay, bank account is something that is different from a vehicle or a tree or a smartphone or a phone or a person. So there is something else there, and each person is probably having a bank account, because you have to either submit your fees or we have to draw our salaries like this. So when you define the person as a class, or all the 6 persons as a class, common definition of the class should contain that the characteristics of a person within the class. It should have a ID, department, account number, vehicle, and a phone. And the person is capable of doing. He can make a phone call. He can start a drive. He can start driving, and he can access his bank account like this. So can you see some similarity in the person class definition with respect to the phone class and the vehicle class? I mean, not similarity, but can you see some kind of
So they consist
association?
the phone and vehicle class, sir.
So this class and okay, I have defined the account class also. Account number, name, balance, and then get cash or withdraw cash, deposit cash, and get balance. Now, okay. So now tell me that how this class is related to the other three classes.
Sir, it consists all the three classes, sir.
Yes, it consists of, or you can, in a more technical way, you can say that the person
Encapsulates all the other classes.
No, it's not encapsulation. The person has has a, okay. What do you call it as? The person class or any entity in the person class has a what? Has a vehicle. A person has a what? It has a phone, and a person what? It has a account, right? Is that fine? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
So see the design. So the point is, earlier, maybe before I have done this person class, I had this phone class, the vehicle class, and the account class. Now, so now the software said that okay, you just model these three and you don't have to worry about. Now after say few months, it says that okay, we would like to, or your client says that we would like to encode the person also, model a person also. Now you say okay, person, what you will have. So he says that a person will have a vehicle and a phone and all these things. So it's fine. Now the point is, when you are implementing the definition of this person, then you already know that a vehicle class is defined, a account class is defined, and the phone class is defined, and you can create a person class which is consisting of, that is fine, it consists of, but the technically we call it as it has a relationship with this class, and with this class. Is that fine? That means we can read it as a person has a vehicle, it has a phone, it has an account, and it can have multiple also, like a person can have two phones, it can have three vehicles, it can have four accounts like this. Is that fine? So this is one way. So you can see the design. So in the real life, in the real world, we have seen this, and we found that in the design, how can we design it? How can we design each object? Or each entity. And when we try to design or model each entity, we try to find out what are the similar entities, and instead of specifying one and each and every entity, we come up with a compact definition. Okay, that is what we call as class. Now once we have defined the class consists of characteristics and the capabilities of the entities which it is defining. These entities, individual entities, are called objects of the class. Okay, so what are objects? Objects are instances of a class. Objects are entity instances of a class. So here vehicle is a class, but this particular vehicle C1 is an object, C2 is an object, C3 is an object belonging to the entire vehicle class. This P1, P2 are objects of person class, like this. Okay, so this is one type of relation, how multiple classes may be related to each other. So what may the other way of looking into it? Now up to 3 months it was fine. Now suddenly the client says that okay, you have encoded phone, but out of the 6 people, some of them, they are having just a normal land phone kind of thing, and some of them, they are having mobile phones. Now when you say, when they say mobile phone, that means in addition to this, what else you should have in a mobile phone? You should have a touchpad, right? So you say that I will have a touchpad, as a addition. So in addition to this, in addition to phone number, receiver, transmitter, this touchpad should be there in the so what they say that, okay, you considered as a programmer, you considered all to be phones, but now I say that why not you specify what type of phone it is. And what type means, let us say that a mobile phone is a type of phone. Okay, so this is, I say this mobile phone is a type of phone. And why it is, we say it's a type of phone, because mobile phone will have, in addition to whatever this phone is having, normal phone, it will have a touchpad. And what type of capabilities it will have? It will have make call, receive call, and this, and you can send messages or multimedia messages.
Take pictures.
Okay, and you can capture say images, something like this. So these are the capabilities that we have got. And after say few more months, you say that I have procured, or some of them they have procured smartphone. Okay, so when they say it's a smartphone, now they say that they have got a voice recognition system. Okay, Google Voice. So the thing is, now you can make so whenever you want to make a call, you don't have to even press the keys, so you can have a voice enabled call initiation. So like that, and you can have say video calls like this. So you can have a video calling system or voice enabled call like this. So the thing is, this smartphone is again a mobile phone with some additional capabilities. So when you are having this in the design, you see this mobile phone, you can say this is a smartphone. So this is a phone, and this smartphone is a mobile phone, right? Because when I say this phone only, I probably thought that that one person is just having a landline number, a landline handset, and some of them they are having some mobile phones. Now within this phone, if I want to specify what type of phone it is, I have created this mobile phone, which is a phone. And if I have more fine-grained specializations, then I say that this is a smartphone, which is again is a mobile phone. Okay, when I say it's a vehicle, so vehicle, I now, instead of earlier I was happy that I have encoded all the vehicles in my code, like how to represent a vehicle. Now it says that there are a lot of other complexities. Now I say that a two-wheeler and a four-wheeler, these are two special type of vehicle, I mean two special types within a vehicle class. So you categorize between two-wheelers and four-wheelers, and within the two-wheelers, after a few years, you probably will be able to distinguish between smart vehicles. Smart vehicles is a type of two-wheeler where you have got auto driving facility, and maybe voice uh, you can give some voice commands to switch on your audio and all this. Okay, and it will be fitted with more and more sensors. So in the capability, in the characteristics, it will have a whole lot of sensors which can ensure your safety or other issues. Okay, so now let us sum it up. So if we think of person as a class, if we think of say phone as a class, if we think of smartphone as a if we think of mobile phone and then a smartphone, so these are the different classes. And here if we have got vehicle, then four-wheeler vehicles, then two-wheeler vehicles, and we have got the account, then we have got the savings account, and then we have got the current accounts. Okay, so how they should be related to? Now the person will be related to which of these three, or which of the classes directly? The person class.
So it will be directly attached to phone, vehicle, and account.
So what will be the mode of relation? I mean, what kind of relation they should hold? Now I have got two distinct.
Sir, has a relation.
Yeah, one is a ISA and one is a HAZA, right? One is a ISA and is a HAZA. Either So you may not have any relation. That is the one thing. So if you have got a tree class, you see, if you have got a tree class, it's a tree class. So tree has no way related to all these things probably. So either it is unrelated, or if they are related, they can be either related to number one is a or number two has a. Okay, so the person, as you find that, okay, as per the design, it will be related to this tree. So person, so this is a notation that we often use, and different object-oriented designs, they use a different notation. So fine. Now immediately you know that when you are trying to implement a person, if you have already defined a phone class or a vehicle class and an account class, it becomes very simple, right? So you just define an instance of a phone within it, instance of a vehicle within it, instead of an account within it. How you do this? It's something like this. You see, account is already defined. So if you write A is an instance of account type, P is an instance of phone type, and V is an instance of vehicle type. It's like creating a variable. Okay, so object is, so it's an object of that type. So now what way this phone is related to others? This phone class will be related to the mobile phone class using a what kind of relation?
Is a.
Is a, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, is a mobile
Is a
phone is
relation.
related? Is a
It's a relation. So this is a, so we say that mobile phone is a type of phone. That's why it's a relation, and this is a has a relation. And in the smartphone, we again, this is related to mobile phone. This is because smartphone is a mobile phone. What about the vehicle? This two-wheeler is a vehicle. This three-wheeler, this four-wheeler also is a vehicle. Maybe the three-wheelers also you can think of. The account, this is a, this is a, and probably uh, you are sitting happily with like model everything after say 6-7 months, then suddenly the client comes and says that, okay, now probably you are the developer, you are developing a kind of system that, or database system for your institute, for the NIT Durgapur. Now they says that, okay, you have done fine, you have done a fine job, but the thing is the persons, why do you include every person as a single in a single particular class? Because we have clear distinction between faculties, the staff, and the students. So students don't have the all the, so the capabilities of students are not same as that of the capabilities of faculties and the staff, right? Because their tasks are different, their objectives are different like that. So the behaviors are different. So why you have included all of them in the person? So the thing is, what you do then? So what kind of extension of the design you should make? You should be creating a student class, right? Staff class, and then a faculty class. So when you are creating these subclasses, how they should be related to the rest of the design? Will it be following a
Person
has
is
or
a
is a relation?
student, is
Hmm?
a student, is a staff.
Is a relation with person.
Is a relation with person, because student is a person, staff is a person, and faculty is also a person, right? So now when you have a has a relation, that means when you are defining a new, say, a class like this, you just have to create an instance or multiple instances of this type. So that means it is composed of. So this is kind of composed of. Now here it is, when you are already happy with person, now you want to have specialized or specific subgroups within that. Then you create, you define that, you create the definition of those subgroups, and this is what we call as, this is the ISA. So when you create these subgroups, student, staff, and faculty, you basically inherit, you can see that you can inherit the definition of person, and you try to extend that. Okay, so if you have say your father has got one bike, one car, and maybe a laptop, and he wants to give it to you. So okay, so when you are, so the thing is, you now say that, okay, or he has given you just a two-wheeler, okay, so and you want to have one more four-wheeler. So the thing is, you first acquire whatever he is giving, you inherit them, and then if you want, you can change the color, you can make additions to that and all this. So that's the point. So the thing is, when you inherit, means you are actually inheriting the definition of this class, which is more technically it is called the base class, and this is called a derived class. Okay, because this new class is derived from the base class. That means the base class properties should be there, and you are adding some new capabilities and characteristics to define it in a new way. So the thing is persons, so up to this the person definition is fine, but can you just merely having this, can you distinguish between a staff, student and faculty? Is that possible? Just merely having these characteristics, just
No,
having
sir,
this
you would
set of
need another one.
characteristics, can you distinguish between a staff, faculty and student? Is that possible?
Yes, sir, if the IDs are different, if like the ID nomenclatures are
Okay, I mean,
different.
I got your point, but maybe the ID said, let us assume that we are using this ID is the Aadhaar card. There is no institute specific IDs. If it is the ID is your Aadhaar card, so can you distinguish them?
No, sir, in that case, we would
Not
need
possible. So the
another.
thing is, if I want to make it possible, how do I distinguish them? Then you add the student ID. Okay, here you have the student ID, here you have the employee ID, and here you have so here also you have got the employee ID, something like this. And additionally, in the behavior, a faculty can take class. Okay, so you define that take class. A staff, he can do some office work. A student can enroll in some course like this. So whatever the person, a general person is having, so everybody should have ID, Aadhaar card, a department affiliation, an account number, a vehicle, a phone, and all this. They can make phone calls and all this. But when you are trying to create subgroups within the person, then you have to define some additional features, or you have to modify some additional existing features to complete this definition. So you add something onto it, on top of it, and you add some additional to on top of it. So basically inherit this definition to come up with this definition. So that's why this is called base class, this is called a derived class. In this case also, this is the base class, this is the derived class, like this. So in that way, the whole the design can be easily modified and extended as and when time comes, a new requirement or demand comes. So whenever the client comes up with says that, okay, I want this also to be there in your design, or this also to be there in your incorporated in your software, as a designer you should think for a while that, okay, how should I add it? Do I need to write a new class, or I can just add it as a additional attribute, or I mean additional characteristic to the existing class definition? Or do I need to define a separate class, a completely different class for that? And if that is a different completely new class, so what way that new class should be related to the existing class structure, class hierarchy? Can it be derived from some existing class so that it has is a relationship, or can it be defined as if it is composed of some existing class objects? Okay, so that way how the design, so this entire design is what we call it as an object oriented design. Why we call it the object? Because instance of a class is an object. So you basically try to perceive the objects, classify them into a class, and define their capabilities and behavior, and you keep on expanding your design. So it is entirely based on identifying and classifying and defining the objects. That's why it is called object oriented design. And the previous one, it was just focusing on identifying procedures, so that was procedure oriented design. Is that part clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll just take another 5 minutes to wrap it up, because I don't think it will be possible, uh, because in any case it's a 1 hour class. So I'll take the rest of it in the next class. Just I'll touch upon this particular slide. So if we think of the real world perception, what are the terminologies that we encounter? So real world consists of identifiable, classifiable, interacting set of objects. I think you agree with this, right? Why we say interacting? Now a person, if he wants to, you see, if a person wants to make a phone call, so what he would say that this is an object, this is an instance of this class, phone class. Any instance, like a variable is an instance of data type. Okay, if I write int x, that means x is a variable, it's an instance of this data type, integer data type. So here this p is the instance of this phone type. So here phone, what is phone? Phone is a class type, right? It's a class type in object-oriented terminology. So what is this? So an instance of a class type is called an object. So this P is an object. So if a person wants to make a phone call, he can simply, if we look in the syntax, he can simply write P dot make call. Okay, in that way, a person object can interact with some other objects. Okay, so it's an interacting set of objects. So each object is having identifiable characteristics that we already found. We have mentioned it many times. It's a set of attributes, and those attributes, in our case, in our design, we have shown it in these red ovals, right? These are attributes, set of attributes. How I define these attributes? These attributes may be defined in terms of variables, data structures, and all this. And it's come up with some well-defined behavior. What is a behavior? These are the capabilities or functionalities, the methods, I mean what it does. And this is shown in terms of this rectangular blue rectangles, right? So these are the capabilities. All objects having the same behavior are grouped under a category called a class. So this we have already mentioned. Okay, if they have the same behavior, they will be categorized in the same class. So it is a behavior, set of behaviors which distinguishes classes. And a state of object means what? So if you are trying to say a particular person, say a specific person, say P1, okay, in the person class, the person P1. So if that person P1 has changed his vehicle, so dot V. So he earlier he procured a Maruti vehicle, and now say he has changed it to a Hyundai four-wheeler. So if he has made any changes in its characteristics, okay, so that means state of the object has changed. So state of object means what? It is determined by the values assigned to its attributes, right? So whenever you perform some behavior, it may or may not change the state of the object. Okay, if you change your phone as a person, your state has changed. Okay, like this. And some of the attributes and the behaviors may not be accessible to the others. Now can you say, in terms of the previous example, so which of these attributes or characteristics you would like to hide from the extra as a person? So a specific person in this person class, what he or she would like to hide from the external world? You have got
Account.
ID, a department name, account number, account, and the vehicle and the phone. So which one do you think you would like to hide from others?
Account details.
Which one?
The account details.
Account details or account. So even you may not be willing to share your account number also. Forget about the balance and the passwords and all. So this account need to be, you just want that, okay, I want, it's fine that this is, so account. And then access account also, if the account is private, so I would like to make this also, access account also, private, right? So when you define a class, you can be very specific that the set of characteristics and behavior that I define, I may not be willing to provide information of some of those characteristics and some of the behaviors to others, right? So in that case, I can leave it as, so this notation we can consider to be as private. So you are free to define accordingly, but the rest of it will be public. So just opposite of private is public. That means a person's department ID, Aadhaar card also, it is easily obtainable. You can see the vehicle, you can know the phone also, you can see the phone, and everything is visible to it. But the account, how many accounts I have got, what are the account, which banks I hold the account, I don't share with anybody. So some of the attributes and some of the behaviors may be made private. So I mean, in the real life also we do generally do that. So some are private and the remaining may be as labeled as public. And in fact, you can go one step ahead, and the point is, like your father, when so your father's account, maybe he's not willing to share it with you, but the phone and vehicle, he makes it personal, because say I don't want it to be shared with my son, like phone and vehicle, because I need a vehicle always. I just don't, and the phone also, because I need to make calls and I need to keep it with in my possession. So these two The thing is, but the idea and department, it's known to everybody. But the thing is, these are now what I can make. This is private, but this I can make it as I can use some different notations. So like this I can make it as protected. Okay, so protected means even I don't give access as a father, I don't as a person, I don't give access to my account details to anybody else, not even my phone and vehicle. So I will not allow you to touch my phone and my vehicle. I put them in the keys. But the thing is, when I am to my son, when I'm trying to transfer my property to my son, so the thing is, then but my account will be of my own. So account I cannot hand it over, but this vehicle and phone I can hand it over to my son who inherits my property. Okay, so now there are three distinctions. One is some of the attributes are public, some of the attributes are private, and some of the attributes are protected. So these are the some of the issues that gradually complicates the situation in terms of the design, but you should not worry about all of this, just to have a exposure of the different terminologies. And while we discuss about more on inheritance, how we implement it, we'll have a better feel of why it is required and how we are going to use it, right? So for the time being, you just ignore that part, and you know that there is another type of access, we call it as access permissions or access specifiers, which is called protected. And so anything that is private, but when somebody inherits something, you can make it protected. So the classes may be related to each other. It may not be, it is unrelated, or it can have a has a relationship, it can have a is a relationship, and any two objects may interact, invoking their behavior. So here this is encapsulation, right? So what is somebody was telling about encapsulation. So what is the encapsulation? Encapsulation is putting together data variables and methods. So the capability of putting together both data variables and methods. So this is a make call, receive call, and then this is index, then phone key, like this. So these are data variables and these are methods. So the capability of putting them together in a particular construct is called encapsulation. And in C++, is a C++ type syntax. So this is the class, so or a structure, or C++ structure is capable of encapsulating these variables as well as methods which are related, and this is what is called as encapsulation. State of an object we have mentioned. So these private, protected, and public, these are called access specifiers. So in C++ as a language, you will find that you will be able to use or tag these characteristics and behaviors with private, public, protected, etc. And this has a relationship is actually it is modeled by composition, and is a relationship model is by modeled by inheritance. Okay, so each of them will be detailing in our future discussion, and we'll see the syntax, and this is called message passing. So the terminologies that I use. So let us stop this class, because I think you can. Okay, one point is I just forgot to record it. Sorry, it was a mistake. Achha, one point, even if I forgot to record, some of you should switch on the recording option, right? Hello?
So the recording's on, sir.
It's on? Then it's fine.
Yes, sir.
Then it is fine. But somebody should take care of that. In case you find that it is not getting recorded, you should be switching it on. Okay. Fine, then it is not a problem. I'll just forward the recorded lecture as well as the slides. Okay, so this much for this class. Do you have any questions till this point? Now this is a bit of overview, so sometimes you will find that there are too many terminologies and you are getting lost with the concepts and all, but just try to have as much as you can, because each of these concepts will be elaborated in much more details in the later classes. So the basic objective is, as I was mentioning, in the next class I will be trying to derive the features of object-oriented languages, and we'll try to state the advantages of that, and we'll try to see that how the procedure-oriented and object-oriented are related, like in terms of terminology, what it means, this means like this. And once we do that in 2-3 slides, I'll be writing the first C++ code, because we use C++ as a language to learn object-oriented concepts in this course. So is anybody having any questions or any queries? Because many of you have already used written object-oriented codes. So any queries in terms of the design or in terms of any other issues that you don't agree with what I mentioned in the class? So if you disagree at any point, you should raise your voice and you say that, okay, why it is like this and why it is not that. So don't, I mean, in case you have any doubts, okay? Any questions? And try to interact. It is not that you just have to say something, because I cannot see the faces, so it becomes easier and for us, the faculties, to keep us tuned if we get questions and we know that okay, the class is following, uh, the students are
So
following the
would you
class. Like, yes.
so would you recommend some other books apart from the class notes and lectures, or some other resources?
Yeah, resources, I think in the syllabus you will find at the end of the syllabus the books are listed, the name of the books are listed, as well as there is a NPTEL video lecture series that is also listed there. I think it has been I have uploaded it in the MS Team there, MS Team. If you want, I can pass on the syllabus while writing the mail, while forwarding this this one, the recorded version of it. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.